Hey, what's up, my people? John Middlekauff, new YouTube channel. What I need you to do, subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, share with your friends. Appreciate everyone that has. It's the podcast, 3 and Out. You can listen wherever you listen to podcasts. Apple, Spotify. We got you covered. Also, thevolume.com, thevolume.com. We got merch right here. FlexFit hat. Go to thevolume.com. Get yourself a 3 and Out hat. When I first got hired in the NFL in 2010, one of my jobs during the game week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and even Friday, they get out a little early, I would print out, I mean, this is a little old school, weather.com, the projected weather for Sunday or Monday or Thursday, depending on the day we were playing, and drop them off to obviously the coordinator and Coach Reed, but every coach, the projected weather. So obviously the weather, and we played in a cold weather city. I mean, the weather is a huge part of the sport of football, right? Let's use, the NBA, for example. Zero impact, right? None. Even in baseball, for the most part, depending on where you are, it can impact you a little in October, depending on the team. But in football, it's freezing cold where I am. It's 50 degrees. I watched that tonight, eating dinner with my girlfriend, thinking, we talked about this. How much would I have to pay you? We joked about, was it the Panther-Falcon game? Yeah, it was. How much I would have to pay someone to attend that game. Remember, driving rainstorm, two of the most boring teams in the league. And, everyone had their different number. Like, I don't know. Now, listen, I hate the cold. I don't know the amount of money you could pay me to attend that. But I do know the amount of money the Chiefs paid Patrick Mahomes. And they gave him $450 million. And with a guy like that, regardless how much quote-unquote is guaranteed, he's going to see every penny. And you saw tonight, he's worth every penny. Because I thought tonight, he looked pretty normal. Like, even some of the drops on some of the deeper balls, when the wide receivers clearly got a little confused by the wind, the ball landed at their fucking feet. I mean, the balls were right there. You watched him tonight and you went, that's a superstar. And you watched the other guy, which we'll get into in a little bit, and being like, you have no chance to win this game. But in that conference, right, you have to be able to play outside. Obviously, Patrick is the quarterback for a team that plays in frigid conditions. The AFC North, which is going to be good for a while, Steelers, the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Browns, all outdoor, all cold. The Bills have a superstar quarterback, which the Chiefs are probably going to go to next year. Literally, the game just got delayed because of weather. Freezing cold. They ain't going away. If Gerard Mayo knows what he's doing and the Patriots can figure out a quarterback, that place is cold. Obviously, the Jets, if they ever win enough games to make it to the playoffs, I would never bet on that. Cold place. The AFC is a cold place to play. You have to be able to play outside in the elements. And Mahomes, like before him, Brady forever, has proven over and over and over again that he can. Like tonight, scheme, none of it mattered. It was going to be ugly, even when it was 16-7 at half. I had a buddy text me like, they had to settle for some butt-curve field goals. It's going to hurt them. No, it's not. This is not a game in the middle of October. This is middle of January. No one can feel any fucking part of their body. None of these field goals are going to hurt them. Miami, I would have bet $50,000 that Miami wasn't going to sniff 17 points at halftime. So no, big up 16-7. I'd argue the game was over at halftime. I felt really good. The Chiefs, if they just got like one more field goal, the Dolphins don't have a snowball's chance in hell to win this game. Because in these conditions, this isn't normal football. I interned for Kansas City before I went to work at Fresno State my senior year in college. And I ended up driving home back to Davis, California with my dad around Christmas time. He came to pick me up because I did like a quarter internship. And right the day before we left, it was Sunday, we went to like one of the last games of the season. And I got field passes. My brother came out as well. I think he ended up flying back. And I remember taking them down to the sidelines. And in the corner of the end zone, and they mentioned this tonight on the broadcast, I know everyone hates listening to Jason Garrett. And listen, I'm not a huge fan either, but I refuse to bitch and moan about Peacock and Jason Garrett. It is what it is. They hired Drew Brees for this role. He was terrible. They fired him, and now we're here. Like, I'm not going to get up in arms about the NBC executives who are bad at their job. We have to watch Jason Garrett. It is what it is. For some reason, Mike Tirico can do a doubleheader. Collinsworth cannot. This is obviously contractual obligations. NBC is losing money by the day. Literally, they are. They're about to cut a bunch of staff in the NBC News. But that's a conversation. I'm not going to waste my time here. But I remember taking them down, and they were like, is the field frozen? And I forget the exact date. It might have been like December 20th, somewhere around there. It was so cold. And you have the ability to function in that. Like, listen, the Chiefs have been built this season to play ugly. They can run the ball with Pacheco. Their defense is feisty. And never forget, they have one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen. Oh, yeah, they also have one of the greatest head coaches we've ever seen. So tonight, watching them strangle Miami out in the first half in a cold, frigid game was the least shocking thing I think we're going to see all week. Honestly, if you told me the Packers beat the Cowboys, that is less shocking than what we witnessed tonight. If you told me the Steelers, like Warren, Najee Harris run for $180 and their defense creates some shit and Josh is off, like it'd be shocking, but not more than what we just witnessed was always going to happen. And listen, the Chiefs are going to be a tough out. Now, I don't think this changes that much from what we've seen. Like, they're playing an opponent that was obviously inferior. We've talked about Miami being a giant fugazi. They've beaten no one except the Cowboys, and they definitely can't function outside. But, like, the Chiefs are used to playing in this game. If they can play Buffalo or they can play Baltimore and the game's ugly, they're going to have a chance. If you get into a shootout, they're obviously going to be in some trouble if their defense isn't playing well. But this team, whenever you are playing all-time greats, and that's what Mahomes and that's what Andy are, it's not going to be easy in a playoff scenario. Now, they're going to have to go on the road next week, for the potentially, I guess, if Buffalo were to lose, they mentioned this, they could host the Houston Texans, which would be, I mean, talk about a gift. I have a hard time seeing that. Like, I expect them to go to Buffalo. And I think a lot of people, depending on how it looks with the Buffalo and the Steelers, are going to pick the Buffalo Bills. I probably will too. But I will not look at the game like this. And I by no means will feel confident in picking the Bills. But this Chiefs team, man, it's called championship blood. When I lived in the Bay Area and the Giants were rattling off World Series, they weren't always the best team. They weren't always the hottest team entering the playoffs, but they knew how to win when it mattered the most. They knew how to win when their starting pitcher was off. Just like the Chiefs. They know how to win when it's fucking -10. They know how to win when, regardless who they're playing. Why? They've played them all at this point in time. So, fantastic win by the Chiefs. And I think the big picture question you have with the Miami Dolphins, you have one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL in Vic Fangio. You had a million injuries. Listen, it can't get any worse than this. Mike McDaniel is proven to be an excellent offensive head coach. But you have a quarterback that if you have to play Mahomes at Arrowhead, Burrow in Cincinnati, Lamar in Baltimore, and Josh Allen in Buffalo, you're not going to win. He can't play in those conditions. And I was thinking watching tonight, how is anyone shocked? Born and raised in Hawaii. I don't know about you. I've been to Hawaii 10 plus times in my life. It's beautiful. It's hot all the time. Even when it rains, it's still warm. It's, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful places in the world. It ain't cold. He went to Alabama, also not cold, and now he lives in Miami. So you're telling me a guy that has spent his entire life in warm weather conditions, who has an average arm, can't play well in inclement conditions? Stunned. Shocked. Here's the problem for the Dolphins, though. He's going into his 5th year. Like, all those guys got paid after their 3rd. They didn't pay Tua yet. Now, Tua did well enough this year where it's like, how are you going to upgrade? You can't really. But when his reps call you this offseason and want 180, 170, $190 million guaranteed, you'd have to think to yourself, how can our guy outplay those guys who are all paid a shitload of money and can all excel in cold weather? How can we ever go in those inclement conditions and win a game? Because more than likely, even if we have a good year, okay, one year we have the number 1 seed and we host the games. But clearly you're going to be 3 seed, the 4 seed, the 5 seed. You're going to have to go on the road and beat these teams in really cold weather. And you watch that guy tonight, and he did not have a chance. His one touchdown pass was an absolute prayer that Tyreek had to turn around, get pass interference on, catch it like Willie Mays, do a 360, go around another guy and score. That was their only touchdown. Like, listen, I'm not some Tua hater. He's a high character guy. He's a solid player. He'd be awesome if he played for the Arizona Cardinals or even the 49ers or the Rams. When you play in the AFC, the road to the Super Bowl and the road just to win a playoff game, more than likely, is going to be frigid temperatures against Josh Allen, Mahomes, huge arms, Burrow, proven to play well outside, Lamar, who is infinitely more talented than Tua. How's he ever beaten those guys? So these conversations are going to happen in literally the next month. I mean, we're not that far away from the Super Bowl being over, and the combine's right here, and free agency's right around the corner. I'll promise you who wants to get paid. Tua and his representation. How can I pay you? Now, I could pay you, $25, $30 million a year, but that's not what they're going to be asking for. You're talking about a guy that's going to be asking for $45, $50 million a year. The moment I pay you that, well, can you go toe-to-toe with the other $45, $50 million a year quarterbacks? I watched you tonight. Now, I know he's one of the greatest players of all time. He was in a different universe than you, like in a different world. So how can I do that? No, it's not like I'm going to cut you or get rid of you because how do I upgrade? But they got a problem on their hands. Really good coaches, some really good players, but their quarterback kind of puts them in no man's land because throughout the season, he's good. He's fine. Now, he gets outplayed in different spots against the best teams for the most part, but does well enough in those games to keep your head high. It really got exposed tonight. And when you play in the AFC, unlike the NFC, think about the NFC. It's where you got to go. Dallas, Dome. Detroit, Dome. San Jose, California, 60 degrees, no rain, sun. AFC is like Kansas City, frostbite. Buffalo, everyone dies of an avalanche. I mean, think about these. Baltimore, frigid, rain, sleet. I mean, it's like two different worlds. So I think Miami, man, I'm not trying to shit on the guy. I'm not some hater. He's better than I thought he would be. Never been the biggest fan. He's better than I thought he would be. But I can't play with a weak arm quarterback in this conference. I can't do it. And you could argue even next year, I'm not buying into the Jets, but let's just say they improve a little. Rodgers comes back. Patriots just kind of get their shit together a little bit on offense. Obviously, the Bills are going nowhere. This might have been your best season to win the division. I mean, at one point in time, 4 or 5 weeks ago, the Bills building was on fire. Now they ended up winning it. It's like, I don't know, man. I'm not offering a solution here because I don't have one. They find themselves in the worst spot to be in the NFL. It's really easy when you're the Texans last year, need a quarterback. Panthers last year, need a quarterback. Right? This year, Washington, New England, you need a quarterback. It's a no-brainer. It's hard when you're Miami. Right? It's hard to do sometimes that kind of crazy cutthroat move. I think you got to think long and hard about just all my options because I could not give Tua hundreds of millions of dollars. Could not do it. And if you do it, just be ready for what's coming. And it's not going to be pretty, not in that conference.